the way to make $1 million in the sell money space is help people make $10 million. I mean, and that's not much of an oversimplification. Capture 10% of it. Reasonable arbitrage, right? But the way to make $1 million in fitness coaching has got nothing to do with the economic value created in the market, because you're not measured on the economics. Someone might get fitter and start making more money, but you don't capture any of that. So you're further away from the piece.
Do you think there's any kind of like, I hate this question, like, do you reckon there's any kind of like standard runway in 2024 for a critical business owner? They say hypothetically me to create a 100 grand month coaching business.
Yeah.
If hypothetically, there's lots of assumptions here, but if they were posting a really good schedule, they followed all the stuff, they had results, they showed the results regularly. Do you have like not like a promise of like you most likely this time frame, but more like if someone followed my stuff to the letter, I would be shocked if in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months they did not get to that, assuming that they could deliver outcomes to customers. Like, is there any kind of like just even bit like boundaries and stuff that you would say like it's very achievable in this period for a decent provider?
Like especially you and especially the agency guys I've worked with, it's between 9 and 18 relative to starting conditions.
Yeah.
Because if they've the biggest challenge is the biggest challenge for you is that, because for a little while it feels like you're running two businesses.
One of the reasons to booking this week as well is because I kind of have a never-ending, even though I've got a small team, it's like a never-ending amount of delivery. And from doing more marketing through this program, I've got more agency clients, which is actually giving me even less time.
Yep.
More money, even less time.
I told you that was going to happen, didn't I?
Good program.
I said your business will grow, but just not in the way that you thought.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So Mark Hammersley's come back into the syndicate. I worked with him and his brother, and his brother's in the UK, runs the agency. Mark was in the agency, but to build their coaching business, he had this wonderful opportunity because he didn't have to conform to their current structure. So he could spend all his time just building the coaching business. And they went from 0 to 250 in 15 months because not from any like magical setup or not to any. His biggest advantage was that he could just build a coaching business in the agency.
You say TPT then about?
Yeah.
You're saying 0 to 250,000 per month.
Yeah.
In 15 months.
In 15 months, because the initial conditions were the same. Like good agency, $1 million a year, £1 million a year. Like no other like unfair advantages or anything like that. Had some media, had a podcast that got a few thousand listens. Just writing a book. So no like magical unfair advantages, but his biggest unfair advantage was that he could essentially build the business inside the agency because he was, the dependencies weren't there on him.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge is compartmentalizing those things until they become one, because the management of it kind of feels like you're being torn in half.
Yeah, I think I'm going to actually literally have like I've kind of unofficially done this, just having like a revenue cap or at least a time cap or fines cap or some sort of like artificial limit to be like, I actually won't take on anything unless it's like meets certain criteria, like a lot stricter criteria now, because I'll never have enough time to build basically a much bigger fee.
The key metric with your one is effective hourly rate and benchmarking from there. Because if you benchmark an agency effective hourly rate, and then you essentially build the coaching business on a 4x. So say you calculate your hourly rate in the agency and you're like, I'm earning $1,000 an hour while working in the agency. So anything you do, so meetings, client services, sales, consulting, whatever you do, what you do you maintain the agency effective hourly rate, and then you say, I'm building a consulting business. The minimum I'm going to get paid in that is $4,000 an hour. And unless I can see a path to that unit of commitment being $4,000 an hour, then I'm not doing it, right? So then your weekly group call at, you've got 10 people paying you $1,500 a month for your coaching program. Your weekly group call then has a effective hourly rate of like, okay, I'm at about 3,000 because I've got 10 people paying me too. If I get a couple more people, then I've got my $4,000 piece. Okay. And then you go up from there. So you're always just in this opportunity cost piece, which is like, I've got this vehicle that I can expand to $4,000 an hour, whereas my $1,000 an hour vehicle is fixed. So I'm not going to feed anything else into it. I'm going to feed everything into the vehicle that can expand to $4,000 an hour.
It's hard saying no to that. I love selling people. No, like I find it really hard to let someone walk away like without buying something, and like, but then it fucks my calendar. They stay, and yeah, it just keeps. It's like stepping over a penny to get or stepping over $1 and into a penny sort of fee. I might make a couple grand up in this person, but it kicks the can of like a 50 or 100 grand a month business on the side of further away as well.
Success is delayed gratification. Pretty much all success is delayed gratification, because over a long enough time period, if you do the things that are right, that are for you, the outcomes will come. But sometimes those outcomes could take decades. So success is delayed gratification and not taking short-term, this is a useful frame. It's pretty nuanced. I notice one of the most detrimental things that people do is take the identity of rather than the modality of, right? Because I don't personally want to be constrained about how I help someone get a result if it's in my wheelhouse and capability. So me describing myself as a coach inherently limits my utility to people. Because if I'm a coach, then I can't give them a service that could actually just build the thing that they really need, and then I could coach them on how to use the thing, right? So that's blocked from me. So seeing them as modalities rather than as identities frees up the creativity to be able to give people what they need on terms that are acceptable to you. So most people who've built coaching business didn't build coaching businesses. And most people who've built coaching businesses aren't even very good coaches. Most coaching businesses that we observe in the modern era are consulting businesses. They are identification of a problem, identification of a model, and then giving the people the capabilities to install that model, right? And very little coaching generally goes on. They tend to evolve into coaching where, as you say, the therapist kind of hat needs to get on for people to do stuff. These are my definitions. So coaching, helping people discover the answer inside them. Consulting is giving someone the answer. Mentorship is showing someone how I would do it. A creator, which is a very valid, modality, is the conjuring of original ideas. And a curator is the assembly of the best ideas. I do all of those things in my business at different times and different places. Sometimes it morphs organically into something, and other times it's a distinct, like, this is what we're here for, right? And I create for the community. I coach on calls. I consult on mainly WhatsApp now, not much Slack. And I mentor on Zoom. And I curate and demonstrate these actions to pull more people towards me who might benefit from these actions. And when we get to talking about the business model soon, having these distinct things has been really useful for me, but it's also been really useful for me over the years to kind of pull back from these industries, especially when you're in them, to have some free thought and free thinking and flexibility in the way that I deliver, without getting entrenched into the identities that a lot of people inhabit. And it's interesting how, talking to some people privately, how trapped they've become in the identities and how they've like boxed themselves in, especially in the coaching space and especially in the agency space, because they've taken on the identity rather than deploying the modalities. Agencies are hilarious because they're like, we're an agency. Yeah, but you do consulting, and sometimes you do coaching too for your clients. And sometimes you curate, and sometimes you create. But like, no, we're an agency, and it's boxed in terms of the idea of a model.